So here's the problem we're going to work with today. The absolute value of 2x minus 3 is less than 5. Okay, so just to be on the same page, these lines right here mean absolute value. And to remind you what that means, like numerically, the absolute value means the positive version of what's inside. But what happens when you have an x in there? So let's say I say that the absolute value of x equals 4. Well, if I put 4 in for x, it is true that the absolute value of 4 equals 4. But if I put negative 4 in for x, it is also true that the absolute value of negative 4 would equal 4. So when we have absolute values with variables, okay, our first goal is to get rid of these absolute value signs. And to do that, we're going to write the two ranges where we will find our answer. The first range is found by simply rewriting this exact same problem and just omitting the absolute value signs. Okay, so all of the places where 2x minus 3 is less than 5 will give us an outcome that will make this a true statement. But the second half of our range, this is where the absolute value comes into play, is it would also be true that the negative version of this would work out. But don't forget, the rule with inequalities is that if you multiply by a negative number, you have to flip that inequality sign. So we're going to start by saying, okay, so it would also be true that everything in here that was negative 5, the absolute value would come out accurate. So we change that to make that a negative 5. But because we multiplied by a negative, we have to flip our inequality sign. And then we rewrite exactly what was in the absolute value sign. And solving these two equations will give us the range of every x where the absolute value of 2x minus 3 will be less than 5. So let's do that, and then let's test it out. Okay, so on this side of the equation, I'm solving for x. I want to add 3 to both sides. And now to get the x by itself, I want to divide both sides by 2. One part of this range is where x is less than 4. And now I go ahead over here, same first step. And so that gives me that 2x is greater than negative 2, same second step. And so the second part of the range is where x is greater than negative 1. So first, let's just test a few things out, make sure we're right here. Okay, x being less than 4, let's try 3. So if I put 3 in here, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. Absolute value of 3 is 3. 3 is less than 5, correct. And then let's try x is greater than negative 1. So let's try 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. 3 is less than 5, correct. Now, how do I write this? Okay, so let's do a number line. And I'm going to plot my point 4, and I'm going to do an open circle because this says less than, not less than or equal to. Then I'm going to plot my point negative 1. And again, I'm going to do an open circle. And I know that it has to be greater than negative 1. So it's heading that way from negative 1. And it needs to be less than 4. So it's heading that way from 4, which means this is the visual of my solution set, right? Greater than negative 1, less than 4. And if I would like to write that with notation, then instead I would do it like this. X is greater than negative 1 and less than negative 4. And I can write it in one sentence because it is between them. Okay, good. Let's do it again. The absolute value of x plus 4 is less than 2. Okay, get rid of the absolute values. Write both halves of the equation. First half, exactly as written, just leaving out those absolute values. Second half, make my answer negative. Flip my inequality. Write exactly what was in the absolute value sign. Solve them. Boom, boom. X is less than negative 2. X is greater than negative 6. Number line. There's my negative 6. There's my negative 2. Less than, that direction. Greater than, that direction. This is between again. And there's my answer. All right. Keep practicing this stuff. Take a look at some of my other Algebra 2 videos. Consider subscribing to my channel so you know when I put out a new video. And as always, keep on mathing.